Hello, my name's Enzer. I'm the owner and president of Pyro, and I appreciate you joining us for our very first webcast. This very first webcast is, as we have said, the first webcast, so please forgive us if we have a few technical challenges as we run along, but I'm going to tell you today about StarFire. And I'm going to show the various components, kind of describe some of the various items, and then we do have some people here that are physically present as well as online, and so we are going to be answering any questions that people may have about StarFire. First of all, I want to show you the controller. And so we're going to go and take a look at the controller. The controller is the heart of the system. This really shows you all the various windows into the system. So this shows you, for example, how your system is operating. It gives you the ability to control the system. We start out and it's all menu driven. So for example, right now we are on the main menu. And the main menu gives you a whole variety of different items to choose from. So this is as simple as running an ATM or a gas pump, something along that lines. So first of all, we can start out, and in its most basic simple form, this allows you to be able to manually shoot a show, just like any other firing panel. So when we do this, it first looks at the continuity on each piece of equipment that's set up. In this case, we have 10 modules hooked up, and it tells us we have 32 cues to fire. Once we decide to, we have our continuity checked, we can simply arm the system just like a manual firing panel, and then we can select a cue and we can fire that. And as we fire each cue, it's going to fire that corresponding cue on a module. If we want to go to a next module, we can simply select the next module in advance or go previous. Or we also have the ability to select a module with the module keys over here. So if we want to go to module 9, we can type in 009 and it will jump to that one. We also have a stopwatch, so we can turn on a stopwatch to see how long our show is. And if we also want to have a fewer number of modules, we can simply select the number of digits. So now if I press 2, it'll go to 2. If I press 9, it'll go to 9. Many times in a manual show you may not have many modules, so that's a quick and easy way to change from module to module. So I'm going to turn the system off. We're going to go back to our main menu, and we have the other end of the spectrum, which is a scripted show. So in this case, we're going to go to a script. We've already loaded a script into the system, and this is going to give us the ability to shoot a Pyro musical. So we have the ability to be able to have a fully designed, choreographed to music show, or if you didn't do it to music, you also have the ability to be able to select a script ahead of time and just have the computer control the pacing of a show even if you don't use music. So in this case, we're going to arm the system again. We've already loaded the script. And in this case, we're going to do manual time code. So we're manually going to tell the system to start. And I'm going to press this in just this button in just a moment here to start the show. But we're going to show you some modules. So if you go and you look at the modules, we're going to see this particular script that's going to shoot very, very quickly. So I go ahead and start it, and then a few seconds later, we have a rapid sequence firing. So this would be the way to be able to do the other end of the spectrum where you actually shoot a Pyro musical or a show that is fully scripted. So once we do that, the last mode I'm just going to talk about a little bit is a sequence show. A sequence show allows you, it's kind of the best of both worlds. It allows you to be able to manually control the pacing, and you can select individual cues or sets of cues or even some of the fancy effects you can do with the computer firing system by simply having a button represent like a mine run. So you could set it up so you have a mine run on your first button, you have a flight of shells on your next button, but you shoot every single thing in order, and the computer takes care of which module and which cue to shoot as you simply go with one button at a time. So now if you'd have cakes and you don't know how long they're going to shoot, you can simply hit the button. You can watch the cakes. When the cakes start to fade out, then you can simply go to the next item and the next item and the next item. Next, I'm going to talk about the module. And so we have modules that connect to the firing system. So the modules themselves are designed so that they are waterproof. They literally can be submerged completely in water. It's a hard aluminum case, so the aluminum case itself is nearly indestructible. They have survived all kinds of abuse, and these modules are extremely durable. They've survived fire to the point of starting to melt the case, the aluminum case, and they still have been functional. The module itself connects via 2 wires, so you simply have a wire that you connect, a pair of wires, and that can go directly back to the firing system. The modules have a standardized output, so there's 32 Qs that you can connect to the back of the module. And from the module, you'll connect a cable, and then you'll connect over to the rails. There's a variety of different rails that we have available. This is what we call our mini rail. This is one of our most popular by far of any of the rails we sell. It provides you terminals for 32 Qs. A lot of times we'll mount them on the side of a rack, and you'll simply take your wires, connect it to the terminals. We also, one of our customers asked that we design a rail with binding posts. So we've designed this rail for one of our customers that has these binding posts. So instead of the terminals, speaker terminals, they have a different type of connector on them, which is very popular. Then we also have our full-size rail. And our full-size rail actually has one feature the others don't, is that you can connect the module to any one of these connectors, and then you have the ability to be able to connect to another module or another rail, and so one module could then connect to 2 or 3 or more rails. So this is ideal if you have a series of cakes that you want to spread out, or if you hooked up a bunch of fireworks, but then the wires for subsequent fireworks were a little bit too short. You could use one of these rails to go to the other side of the rack and be able to continue. So you could do like Qs, 1 through 16 on this one, and then on the other side of the rack, continue 17 through 32. One of the new items that we've introduced more recently is our Star Bridge. So our Star Bridge consists of a radio module. So we have a Star Bridge radio, and the Star Bridge radio allows us to eliminate long trunk lines between our controller and our modules out in the field. So now, and we can simply take one of these radios, we connect it with wire to a controller, we take another radio that's going to be out in the field, and then we need to provide power. So this is the power supply, and this power supply will provide all the power necessary to be able to power all the modules out in the field. But you've eliminated your trunk line. If you're on the other side of a road, if you're on another building, if you're on a barge, for example, you can have your controller on shore and you can wirelessly connect to your barge. A couple things that I want to talk about regarding wiring. So we have our controller, or we have our modules, and after when we connect our modules, particularly if we get to a large number, sometimes we've had challenges where people have called us up and they've had some system challenges. One of those system challenges is they'll run too much wire to too few modules. Well, I'm going to go back to the controller and I'm going to show you some of the features that we have and some of the troubleshooting that we can do. In our controller, we have a tools menu, and on that tools menu, I'm going to go to a module status first of all. In a module status, this is going to tell us each module that's connected, tell us the voltages of what that module is seeing. So a lot of times if people wanted to run like 20 modules and they wanted to be 1,000 feet from their controller, the actual input voltage will start to become too low. So this gives us our input voltages, and there's 2 ways to fix this. One is to run another trunk line so that you have less power on each trunk line and split your modules in half. The other way to be able to fix this is to be able to wirelessly connect by putting the power out in the field. Now you can have the power supply very, very close to the modules. So right now we have our system connected wirelessly, so we're really reading what the pack voltage is, or the power supply voltage is, out in the field. So this gives us the ability to be able to know for sure we've got plenty of power. We also have a couple other items here, like for example our script verify. That tells us that the script that's loaded in the modules is exactly the same script that's loaded in the controller. This gives us a lot of feedback so that we know for sure that when we actually go to shoot the show, that everything's going to fire correctly. We have continuity here that we can go to, and then we actually have scripted continuity. And in this case, it's going to go through and check the continuity of each module, and it's going to give us a specific list of what is different, or what types of items might not be correct as according to the script. In this case, it's going to say all continuity good. But I'm going to walk over and I'm actually going to disconnect one of our items, or one of our electric bulbs that we have here, just so we can kind of see what it looks like when something isn't correct. And I'm going to come back and I'm going to recheck, and I'm going to recheck all. So it's going to go through all of the modules. So now it's telling us that module 1 we have an open and it's Q31. Another nice feature of the system is that we can choose to recheck a single module at a time. So if you have multiple people in the field on a very large show trying to check many modules, you can safely check one module at a time without clearing the entire field of your crew. Another item to make sure that you know you're going to have a good show, particularly in a wireless environment, is we have a tools menu and then we have a wireless menu. This wireless menu is going to show us details of exactly how good our communication is. In this case, it's going to tell you the signal strength, both going out to the field, the return signal strength from the field, and then it continues to poll the system. So if you are in a stadium environment or another type of environment, it might be very difficult to, relative to wireless communications, this system is going to allow you to, well ahead of time, poll again and again and again to know exactly how well your wireless system is going to work when it comes showtime. It's going to tell you how many responses it received, and so you know if you have highly accurate communication. This ends up, in this case, we're very close. We have a very, very strong signal, of course, because our two radios are only about 20 feet apart. But even if there was an occasional packet loss, the system's designed that when it goes to fire the show, you can actually lose individual packets and you will not miss any shots with the firing system. We're going to go back now and we're going to talk a little bit more about scripted shows, and we're going to talk a little bit about time code. Time code seems to be a mystery to a lot of people. So we showed earlier how we can manually start time code. Time code is nothing more than an audio signal coming from a computer or your time code source telling you what time it is. The controller itself has two inputs, either an XLR input or an RCA input, to be compatible with a whole variety of different time code sources and cables. The time code itself is, because it's an audio signal, you can play that from a computer, you could play that from a phone, you could play that from a CD player. Any type of item will be able to feed the time code. So the time code not only tells you, the timing, it tells you a very specific time. So it's kind of like a watch, but it's a watch that's been converted to an audio signal. So as you feed the time code into the control panel, it's going to simply tell it what time it is. The control panel is then going to set its clock based on the inbound signal coming in, so that you end up having the firing system following that audio signal. So if, for example, you needed to, for some reason, you needed to pause your show and you wanted to go back a couple minutes, you could rewind your audio signal and your time code, and you could play. And that time code would simply, the firing system, when it heard that time code again, it would hear what time it is, and it would simply jump to that time and start shooting that portion of the script. So next, I'm going to show you how easy it is to load various scripts. We currently have loaded a script for the demo you saw just a minute ago, which is a very rapid demonstration. But we simply take a USB key or a USB memory stick, we plug it into the controller, and as we plug it into the controller, it's going to start reading all the scripts here. We go to the scripted shows. We want to load a script. So again, it's all menu driven very easily to be able to read. We load the script, and when we select load strip, it's going to show you all of the various shows that are on this USB key. In this particular case, there's a pretty large number of them, but it's going to give you information about the name of each individual show. So for example, we want to select a sequence fire. We're going to do 10 module slow, and we simply select the file, and it loaded 320 lines of script. So it tells you how many cues are in that. The next process is we program the modules. So we program the modules, and as we hit that button, what it's going to do is it's going to take the script from the controller, and it's going to send it to each module. So as it does it, it will give you the status. It'll tell you that you have the modules, each one. It programs them one at a time. In this way, ahead of time, when it actually comes to show time, all of the scripts and the modules are set to be able to fire the show. So when it actually comes to time to turn on the show, it takes very, very, very little time. Okay, now we can simply go back from our programming. We can display the script, so it will show us the actual script, on the screen. This particular script doesn't have any descriptions in it, which is common on if you just simply manually create your script. And then we can again, it gives us the name of the script, tells us that it's a sequence script. So we're going to go to sequence show, and we're going to see that we have, in this particular case, we have 10 events. This is going to give us 10 individual buttons, and then each button is going to shoot in this particular case, it's going to shoot a module all at the same time. So what we're going to do is we're going to go back, we're going to look at our modules, and as we hit each button, we're going to see the module is going to shoot each individual cue. So with a single button, we can set up a whole sequence. So we can shoot one item after another, after another, after another. But we simply had to hit one button to start the timing. And then when we get to the ready for the next module, you can simply hit the next button, and now you're shooting the next module one cue at a time. Okay, and this one tells you again time remaining, so you know how much time until each sequence is done. And then it'll advance and be ready for the next item. So in this case, we have a 32-second queue because we're shooting 1 queue per second on each module with a single press of the button. So that concludes most of the presentation. A couple things that I did want to announce is that a couple enhancements we are doing to the system. We are going to soon be releasing lithium batteries for the main controller. This is going to reduce the weight by about 20 pounds. We're just doing our final testing before release for that. Another thing about Ace Pyro that we're about ready to release is we're actually, to help make the scripting process easier and faster, we are actually going to be allowing our customers to place an order on our website and then be able to download a shells database that's compatible with Finale 3D. We're currently in testing. We hope to have that done and completed within the next month or two. And so now you'll be able to place an order. You'll be able to download your shells database, design your show in Finale 3D. And once you've designed your show in Finale 3D, then it's quick and easy to, of course, install that back into the StarFire and be able to shoot your show. So, all right. Well, thank you, everybody, for being here. Are there any questions? Okay. So we're going to take a break. We're going to come back at approximately 6:30, and we're going to give a presentation on Finale 3D. Thank you.